hit the third trimester, I knew I didn't want to exceed 37 weeks with the baby inside of me. I began to think of ways to get the baby out of me by 37 weeks. So if you're like me, then this video is for you. At 35 weeks, I began to eat dates at least 5 to 6 on a daily basis. So dates is known to help soften the cervix, and the softer your cervix is, the better chance you have of not tearing when the baby is coming out. So I would take 5 to 6 dates every single day. Another thing I did at that 35 weeks mark was I began to do some of these exercises I saw on YouTube. Some of them are supposedly meant to help induce labor, but I knew my body wasn't going to be ready at 35 weeks, so I did some of them anyways, because some of the exercises would help open up the pelvic floor and also strengthen your body. So one thing I would advise you is, when you're pregnant, especially in the third trimester, try as much as possible to be active. The more active you are in pregnancy, your body has a better chance of recovering faster after pregnancy. So I kept my body super active in those last weeks. I was active throughout pregnancy. I was as active as I could be anyway, but in the third trimester, especially in the last week, which is one of the most difficult times to want to get your body up anyway, I kept myself very active, and those exercises really helped. Another thing I did from that time was I would squat every day. Squatting also helps to open up the pelvic floor and also strengthen the pelvic floor. So those pelvic exercises are really important. So I would do up to 60 squats a day, but I wasn't doing them once, or I wasn't doing 60 at once. So in the morning I would do as much as I could, maybe 10 or 15. Later in the afternoon I would do more. Around evening I would do more, plus the ones that are in those exercises. So there are 3 of them, and I used to do all 3 exercises one after the other on a daily basis. I'm going to put those exercises right here. You can see them in case you are interested. They help me, and I'm sure they would really help you. Another thing I was doing at that time was I would go for walks in the morning and in the evening. So I'll go for about 30 minutes walk, and while I was at it, I would do curb walking as well. And when you curb walking, please be careful so you don't trip. It helps the baby engage, and because the lack of balance between your hips will help the baby's head keep dropping as your pelvic floor opens, which is what you want to happen around 35 to 37 weeks pregnant anyway. Some of the days where I would not feel like going out, maybe because the weather is cold, or I just didn't feel like going out entirely, I would walk around the house. So I would walk around my entire house, go up the stairs several times. Sometimes I'll go up the steps and come down up to 40 to 50 times, depending on how much energy I had left. And most of this walking around the house would be in the evening or at night before I go to bed. Please kindly ignore the noise. I have 2 children, and if I want them to be quiet, I would not have time to make this video because they're not going to be quiet. So please ignore the noise. I kept on doing those exercises up until I gave birth anyway. Now, the final thing, the thing that I think capped it all up for me and brought this baby out by 37 weeks plus 5 days was what I'm going to share with you now. During my 37th week appointment, so it was exactly 37 weeks plus 2 days that day was a Friday, I spoke to the doctor about getting the baby out of me. In Ireland, 37 weeks is considered full term, so I knew I could bring this up with my doctor, since all of the exercises was doing nothing but strengthening my body, but I wanted the baby out. So I told the doctor, what can we do today to get this baby out? Like, I want the baby to be out of me today. I was so impatient at this time because I was feeling so much pain in my bum hole, around my vagina, on my pelvic floor. It was really uncomfortable, and I wanted the baby out. If you saw my belly at the time, my belly had really dropped. I was no longer having so much heartburn, but the baby wouldn't just come out. So I wanted to give the baby the natural push he needed to come out. So the doctor offered to do a membrane sweep. When I heard that, I was so scared because I knew it involved going into my vagina. So a backstory to why I'm being scared. When I was in labor with my first baby, they were going to check how dilated I was. The midwife was not gentle at all. Like she just shoved her hands in with it. It was so painful. So immediately she got her hand in and she was trying to put, it was really, really uncomfortable. I screamed my lungs out. So I told the doctor, oh my god, this membrane sweep, yes, I want to do it, but I'm super scared. Do you mind me screaming? Because if you go in, I know I'm definitely going to scream. And she was like, oh, she has heard different kinds of screams, so therefore she's on board that, provided I'm comfortable doing the membrane sweep. We had the membrane sweep done that day, and she told me this is not a guarantee that the baby is going to come out, because I think maybe 2 in 5 women that have membrane sweep done are the ones that actually give birth as a result of that membrane sweep. Sometimes the baby is not just ready to come out, but we can give it a try. So the desire to have the baby come out overshadowed the fear of having someone go into my vagina. So we had the membrane sweep done. So she told me I have 48 hours to be sure if it was going to work or not. I said, okay. I went home that day anticipating that this final thing I have done would work. Nothing happened. So sometimes around, I think I got home around 11. I slept, and then when I woke up in the night around 7 p.m, I saw a tiny bit of the mucus plug. You know, it's usually stretchy and a bit sticky, but it was really tiny. And your mucus plug coming off isn't really a sign of labor. I wasn't bothered. Like, I just went about my nightly routine. I slept that night. The next morning, which was a Saturday, another piece of the mucus plug came out, but there was no contraction whatsoever. So I just went about my daily activities. After all, I was still supposed to have 48 hours, so this was just 24 hours. So I was on board that by the next morning, which was a Sunday, we had reached the 48 hours mark. I woke up around 7 a.m. to go and take a pee, and then I felt the mucus plug. Like, I really, really felt it coming out. So I put my hands to grab it, and I saw a big thing. Like, it was really big. At this point, I knew all the mucus plug had come out, but then at the back of my mind, I knew mucus plug falling out isn't an entire sign of labor unless you are actively contracting. So I just went about my Sunday activity, took a bath, prepared the children, and then we all went to church, came back, and by 4 p.m, I felt something coming out, just like you're having your period. So, you know, so I went to the bathroom to check, and it was like my amniotic fluid. So how I knew it was amniotic fluid is because what was coming out was a bit sticky. It wasn't urine, and besides, it's my third baby, so I know these things. But it was I wasn't so concerned because it was not coming out like consistently. It was just like tiny little drops. So I got in my pads, and I was expecting it to keep coming out. Like they say, every baby and pregnancy is different. For my first baby, the amniotic fluid came out, even though it wasn't like the Nollywood gush, but it came out consistently. And then for the second baby, it did not come out, and I was actively contracting. It was when I was about 5 centimeters dilated that they broke the water. So this time around, it was just coming like tiny little drops. In Ireland, once again, we're advised to labor as much as we can at home before going to the hospital. So this amniotic fluid was coming out, but I was not actively in labor. I decided to stay back at home. So this was around 4 p.m. 5 p.m, nothing happened. So I decided to just go to sleep. But before I went to sleep, I put on a diaper so that I don't mess up my bed. By 9 p.m, the thing was still coming up. The diaper was not so soaked, well, I could still see it coming out. So I didn't go to the hospital because I knew I had an appointment the next morning. I was supposed to go and take my second dose of iron infusion. So by 8 a.m. the next morning, we went to the hospital. I decided to go with my hospital bag because I wasn't sure what was going to happen. When we got to the hospital, I told the midwife what was going on, and she told me, "Oh, are you sure it's not urine?" I told her it is not urine because I can see a little bit of blood coming out with it, and plus, this is my third baby. The thing is sticky, it's not like urine that is just like clear water. This one is definitely sticky, so I know it is the amniotic fluid. So she decided to call the doctor, and that doctor happened to be a gynecologist. So she had me checked. She saw that it was really my amniotic fluid. She asked me when this started. I told her it was 4 p.m. the previous day. So this was around maybe 14 to 16 hours. And then she told me in Ireland, you cannot go beyond 24 hours with the baby still inside of you if your water is broken. So I have two options. I was going to either get induced or have my water broken and see what my body is going to do since I've given birth before. So I told them I wasn't going to get induced because I've heard horror story about being induced. So I told them I was going to wait until that 24 hours, so which would be 4 p.m. that Monday. So, and this was around 11 a.m. We waited, they gave me a room. I was just actively waiting. I did a bit of exercise. There was a birth ball in the room. I used the birth ball. We went for a walk to see if the contraction would start. They had given me a pad at this time to put on because they took out the diaper I wore, and then nothing still happened. So around 4 p.m. they took me to the labor ward, which I had to wait and wait and wait for the doctor to finally come at half 5:30 p.m. So she came in. I had my water broken around few minutes to 6 p.m. So I asked them, am I still going to get induced? She said they're going to talk to one of the senior doctors, and the doctor said no, they should not induce me, that they should give my body the chance to do its thing. So they were going to give me 2 hours to see if I was going to start contracting actively. So it was like 5 minutes after she left the room, the contractions kicked in. Like I could see it on the monitor and I was feeling the pain. Well, I'm going to give you my birth story in another video. So by 2 minutes to 9 p.m. I had my baby. I had my baby. So this was 37 weeks plus 5 days. Now, before you do any of these things I have mentioned in this video, please speak to your doctor and make sure you get the go ahead to do it. Obviously, I'm fine. My baby is fine. I achieved my aim or my goal to the glory of God. But I'm just sharing my experience with you, my personal experience, and what actually worked for me. Before you do this, kindly speak to your doctor. So watch out for my birth story in my next video. Right? Thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye.